The draft is 2 days away, but the Bengals no longer have a first-round pick because Dexter Lawrence is now a Cincinnati Bengal. The biggest trade of the offseason was made by the Bengals, which I never thought I would say.
Who never said that?
No, but we're gonna dive into that and do a mock draft because the draft, like I said, is in 2 days with the remaining picks that the Bengals do have and see if they can fill some more, needs there as well. But welcome to Around the Jungle. I'm Evan, he's Zach, and we haven't made a video in a bit. Life's been busy, obviously, but draft is upon us, and we actually have something to talk about with Dexter Lawrence now being a Cincinnati Bengal. Zach, what was your initial reaction to the trade? And after a few days of kind of, letting it sit, how do you feel about it?
My initial reaction was like bafflement that the Bengals actually did something of that magnitude. I think this is the first time in franchise history we've actually made like a blockbuster deal. So I mean, it was cool to see that. um, so I guess like just shock and bafflement was the first reaction. And then I was kind of like, well, I mean, obviously Dexter Lawrence is a great player, but I was kind of like, we just gave up a top 10 pick. And I was literally saying like Saturday, earlier the day or maybe Friday about how I would love to have Dexter Lawrence, but I would try to give like a 27 first or maybe some other package of picks because I was like a top 10 pick for a defensive tackle. I don't know about that. Um, so that was my first reaction. But now that it's sat and simmered for a couple of days, I like it. I think it was a good pick or a good trade, I guess. Um, Obviously Dexter Lawrence is probably the best defensive tackle in the NFL right now. He's still 28. So he's not super old. He should be like right in his prime. Um, but yeah, I think it was a pretty good deal. I mean, just a straight up pick 10 for Dexter Lawrence. I think that was great. If we would have had to give more, I would have been like, I no. But I mean, just one, just, pick for player swap. I think it was great because I guess it sounds like we weren't going to get anybody better with that pick anyways. Because I guess the thought or the feeling now is that Bain, Styles, and Downs all are going to be gone by pick 10. And to be honest with you, if we weren't going to pick any of those three guys, then I probably wouldn't have been super happy with the pick anyway. So, so I think it was a good trade. I also saw a report today, and I don't know if this is true or not, but it wouldn't shock me the slightest. Um, that I believe it was like an insider for the Cowboys or something, and he was positive. He was like almost so sure that if we were sitting at pick 10 and those three guys were not there, he said that he was certain that we were going to draft Peter Woods, which would have been a horrible, horrible pick. So I'm quite happy with how things went down because if that's what we truly were going to do, then I am very glad that we got Dexter Lawrence. Because yeah, I would have probably honestly rather drafted one of the corners or even Jeremiah Love over Peter Woods. I think that would have just been a heinous selection. So yeah, I'm pretty happy with it now. It's like sat and simmered a little bit, and I think it was a good move. Like I said, I like that it was just pick 10 and not anything more. I think that was a pretty good deal. Um, like I said, we weren't really it wasn't looking like we were going to get anybody better there. So, yeah. And also, obviously he's going to be a huge anchor on the defensive line. Our defensive line is looking like we're in a decent spot now with him. Um, I also saw something that said that you might have sent it to us. I don't know, but he led the league in pressures from the defensive tackle position by like 100 pressures over the last like year or
Yeah.
two. So yeah, I mean, overall, I like it a lot. Like I said, my first take was, wow, I was shocked we did something. And then it was, yikes, we gave up a 10th pick. And now I'm like, yeah, that was a good idea. That was a good trade. I like it a lot. I'm glad to have him as a Cincinnati Bengal. I think it also shows that our front office is actually willing to make moves. Like, I think that we're turning over a leaf, and I mean, obviously, the front office is still the worst front office in all of sports, and they're completely horrible. But they're starting to turn over a new leaf, though. And this was a swing for the fences. This was a big trade. This was the type of trade that you would see teams like the Rams or like teams that are actually trying to win the Super Bowl right now. Like those. This is the kind of move that you usually see like the good franchises make. So it's nice to see that we're you know, kind of showing that we're here to play a little bit. Obviously I feel that we could have did a lot more in free agency still, but um, this was a big move. So I like it.
Yeah, so to go back to the stat that you said about the pressures. So since 2022, pressures when aligned at nose tackle, Dexter Lawrence has 108. The second highest, or second, is Vita Vea with 32. So, like you said, yeah, it's basically like 100 more pressures than anybody else in the league.
Yeah,
And that just shows, how dominant he is when healthy and when he actually like wants to play football and not on the trash Giants.
yeah, that's true.
Um, but so my first reaction was I actually didn't have my phone for when the draft or when the trade happened.
Where were you?
I was at a friend's house. We were hanging out. And I just didn't have my phone on me. And then
Oh,
I
okay.
looked like a half hour later and I saw you guys were blowing up my phone. And then
Yeah.
I saw one of the guys was like, Dexter Lawrence just got traded to the Bengals. And I was like, no, there's no way. Like,
There's no
stop
way.
lying. And then I looked and I was like, oh my gosh, we actually. So I went over to Ryan. I was like, we got Dexter Lawrence. And I was just like screaming and running around. But
We
yeah,
actually did something.
I know. Because we had heard that, you know, oh, maybe maybe they'll trade for Max Crosby. And we were like, probably not. And then there was for like a week, they were like, well, Dexter Lawrence is available. Some Bengals fans on Twitter were like, let's go get him. But, thought it was a pipe dream.
Oh
And
yeah.
then it actually happened. So this is probably the only time I'm ever going to say this, but credit to the front office for actually making a big
Yeah.
move. Um, yeah, originally, I would have thought that pick 10 probably wouldn't have been involved, but like you said, I think the notion around the league and in their intel was, Downs, Styles, Bain, Bailey, any of the defensive, like high level defensive guys that they would have wanted were not going to be there at pick 10.
Hmm.
And so for a team that, historically sucks at drafting, uh, to get a guy who's proven in one of the best defensive tackles, if not the best defensive tackle in the league when healthy. Yeah, I think it was a no brainer. Like you said, if we would have drafted Peter Woods, I would have been pissed. I would have
Yeah.
the Thursday night would have been a rough night for us.
Yeah.
I would
Yeah.
not have been happy.
Hmm.
But now we have Dexter Lawrence, who I mean, is obviously a stud, like the stat we just read. It shows to the fans and the players that I think, they're going all in this year. I know they said that before free agency, and we kind of left free agency being like, really? Like this was your all in plan was to, you know, still leave a lot of
Sign a couple.
holes.
Yeah. Yeah. Still not even touch linebacker.
Yeah. So we were kind of like, that's disappointing. And then they're like, hold my beer. We're getting Dexter Lawrence. And so
Hmm.
all over, Bengals Twitter, I feel like kind of rejuvenated the life of the fans. I
Yeah.
saw he had him, Zach Taylor, and Al Golden had some press conferences yesterday, kind of just talking about the move in the draft and the offseason as a whole. And then a lot of player interviews and Amarius Mims, BJ Hill, Dalton Reisner were all like ecstatic. They were like, this is going to be a good year. We're going to go, the front office is showing we're going all in. Like we're going to, it seems like the kind of the attitude and the morale of the locker room is switched. I know it's only April and, we still have a long time till football actually starts playing, but I feel like for a team, for a organization that has kind of felt in the, I guess, in the dumps or like low for the last
Yeah.
year with, Burrow's comments, them missing the playoffs for the third straight time, Burrow getting hurt, all this stuff. There hasn't been a lot positively said about the Bengals.
No,
And I feel like
as there
this
shouldn't
move
be.
kind of, yeah. But I think this move kind of rejolts the fan base, rejolts the players, and shows that, like, this is going to be a big year. We're putting all the chips on the table to make sure that we can make the playoffs with AFC North that has three new head coaches, a lot of roster turnover, um, and so the division is, I would say, open, and
Mhm.
they're doing their best to try to capture that. So I think it's a great move. I think getting a guy who's proven at defensive tackle, which they've been trying to get for years and haven't been able to. They were in on Walter Nolan last year in the draft, but he got drafted before them. They tried it with Sheldon Rankins and other
Oh.
guys, and it just didn't pan out. But
Mhm.
now you have a defensive line of Boe Mafe, BJ Hill, then Jonathan Allen, Dexter Lawrence, and then Miles Murphy or Shamar Stewart. So I feel a lot more confident in that than I did like going into last year and even at the end of this past year. Um,
Yeah,
Now
yeah.
I would still say we could probably use another edge, but the
Mhm.
defensive tackle room I think is really good. I think Jonathan Allen gives them a good, pass rushing ability. Dexter Lawrence kind of does it all, and BJ Hill, has been a solid defensive tackle for the last few years for the Bengals. And him and Dexter
Yeah.
Lawrence are best friends, so that's kind of cool. Kind of get
Mhm.
that morale up as well. So I think
For
it's I
sure.
think it's great all around. I think it sends all the right messages. I think it shows Joe. I think it shows Jamar T. Like, hey, we're not messing around. We're going all in. And I think
Mhm.
it could, if we look back Thursday night, and it plays out where Downs, Bailey, Bain, and Styles are all gone at by pick 10, the Bengals look like geniuses.
Oh,
And
yeah,
pick
definitely.
pick 10 has to go to, like, the Giants might draft, Jordan Tyson or Mansour Delane or something, which are good players, but just not what the
Not what we
Bengals
need.
really needed.
Yeah.
And so, they look like geniuses after that, if that does occur. Um, and then they also re-signed him or they extended him for another year. I think it was like 1 year, 28 million. So now
Yeah, something like
he's
that, yeah.
so now he's getting paid 3 years. It's a 3-year deal now with a 22.2 annual average, which ranks 10th among defensive tackles, which I think is kind of a steal for a guy who I think is probably the best defensive tackle currently in the league. For him to be paid
Yeah.
as the 10th highest is pretty good. And I kind of compared it to the Quinnen Williams trade that happened over the trade deadline with the the Jets and the Cowboys. So they gave up a first and a second for Quinnen
Yeah.
Williams. Now that first probably won't be pick 10 because I'm assuming that the Cowboys will, be better than that. But
Yeah.
still, they had to give up 2 picks for a guy who I don't think is as good and is also 28. Um, so kind of just put into perspective kind of what the trade was, because a lot of people, because I felt like when it first started, a lot of people were like, the Bengals got fleeced, or they were like, the Bengals did a really good job. It was kind of, back and forth.
Yeah.
But I think putting it into context, in a draft that is really top heavy, and kind of weaker as you go down, especially with the position needs that the Bengals had, I
Yeah.
feel like it just made a lot of sense to make this move. And I'm I'm excited. I'm excited for the upcoming season now. So
Yeah.
I thi-
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think, I also just saw something that said that it was like an article talking about how basically Joe Burrow pretty much gave an ultimatum to the front office and said, "You better do something defensively or I'm out of here."
yeah,
So I
pretty
could
much.
I could I could see that kind of being a a situation as well. Which is good. I mean, that's kind of what that's what needed to happen. Honestly, Joe Burrow should have did that 2 years ago. He should have said, "Look, you better change the way you're doing things or I'm out of here." I think that honestly, I think that that ultimatum, if that's true, was long overdue because we missed out on 2 years now. But anyways, though, I I think that's kind of what happened, and I think the front office maybe kind of actually took a hint and did something, so that's good. But
Yeah.
but yeah, I'm happy with it. I think it was a good move, and especially when you put it in the perspective of the Cowboys uh trade there, it's like yeah, we got a better player for less. So yeah, I'm pretty happy with it. I'm excited to see him as a Bengal. Um,
He seems
also,
excited to be a Bengal.
he does, yeah. It seems people are excited to play with Joe Burrow, and there is always a slight chance that we could win a Super Bowl just because we have him and Jamar Chase. I
Yeah.
mean, the chance is always slightly there.
Mhm.
Um, this helps, but I back to your other point though. I do still think that we are in pretty. I think that we're in a pretty big need at edge still. Because Boy Mafi's good, but that's only one guy. The rest of our edges are, in my opinion, horrible. So, um, I don't know, but I just think that if we would have been more active in free agency, that I would feel like, dude, like we're in a pretty prime position here. We got the divisions all new coaching in the division. We got a weak schedule because we finished second to last in the division, so we got a real favorable schedule. So things are pointing up this coming fall, but I'm still just like I just don't think we got done enough in free agency. I think I I just feel that we left some. I feel that we left some stuff on the field that we needed to not, such as linebacker and edge. I just, yeah, that's what like that. And I said that after this trade went through. I know it doesn't really have a lot to do with the actual trade itself, but I said, I was saying like if we would have been more active in free agency, then I would feel a lot better about this deal than I even do right now. Just because, I mean, you think if we go out and we got a Joey Bosa or we got some other edge, and then we pick up Leo Chenal, which we should have done, then you're looking like, okay, this defense is overhauled. This is a pretty solid looking defense here. But because we didn't do that, I feel that we still have a sizable hole at edge, and I would say an enormous hole at linebacker. Because we haven't addressed linebacker at all. So I would say that our hole at linebacker is um quite dire, if you will. But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I feel the same. I think yeah, you feel a lot more comfortable if they did address linebacker at least,
hmm
um, because that's by far right now the worst position group on the defense.
Oh yeah.
And with two young guys, and odds are they're going to have to they're going to have to address that in the draft, or maybe get a veteran like signing and training camp or whatever. But you'd never want to bank
hmm
on that. Um, so they're going to have a really young linebacker room, and it's going to be big for them to, develop. And obviously, Dexter Lawrence is going to help, but you feel a lot more comfortable if you have somebody else in there. But I think
Yeah.
a big thing is, going all in this year, like the Duke Tobin said, a few months ago, and like they are showing with this trade is, Joe's going to be 30 this year. Jamar's going to be 27. T's going to be 28. So, they're not, they're not old at all. They still have, lots of
No.
years left, but
Yeah.
that window keeps, shrinking as the years go by. And so
It does.
like we said this, this time last year, like you can't draft developmental guys. We need to draft guys who can come in and immediately contribute. And
Mhm.
so, trading that for a guy who can immediately contribute at an extremely high level, I think is going to be huge. And the Bengals right now are plus 190 odds to win the division. They're second behind the Ravens still, but
Yeah.
the Ravens still have. There's obviously the Ravens are a good team, but new coach and everything.
Yeah, you never know,
Still questions, and it's the AFC
Yeah,
North. Anything can happen in the AFC North, but
for sure.
um, but yeah, would have felt better if maybe they added another depth edge, and definitely a linebacker. But I think if they can come out of this draft pretty good, or then I'll feel all right about it. Um, but But yeah, it would have helped. But, you never know. They made a few signings during camp last year, bringing in Noah Fant and Dalton Reisner, and
That
Dalton
is true
Reisner
too.
ended up being a really good player. So, maybe Bobby Wagner doesn't sign or Bobby Okereke or, a few of
Mhm.
these older guys, maybe they just throw them in and they ended up making an impact. You never know. But the Bengals do, I think, have like 2 million in cap space right now. So they don't have a
Yeah,
ton of
smart cutting middle up
flexibility.
close.
Um, but yeah, this is the first time or second time in the common draft era that the Bengals will not have a first round pick, which is crazy.
Yeah.
Um, and I'm okay with it.
I was just gonna say I'm okay with it.
Yeah. Now it makes Thursday a little less fun, but now also less stressful. So we don't have
Yeah,
to.
because we don't have to
Uh,
deal with, we don't have to deal with the mental fallout from drafting Peter Woods at 10.
yeah, yeah. Like if we would have drafted like Peter Woods or Keldrick Falk, I don't know what I would have done. I would have been very upset.
I would have been
But now
less than impressed.
that temptation is no longer there.
Yeah,
So yeah, I think for a team that historically doesn't draft well, to trade that pick for an extremely proven player and a one of Dexter Lawrence caliber, I think you make that trade, 9 out of 10 times. Um,
100%. Yeah, I would
and I
agree.
think I was listening to James Rapine talk about it. I think um, like if the overall salary for like per year salary for the rookie who they would have drafted at the 10th pick is only like 8 million less than what Dexter Lawrence is getting.
We
So
got
when you
it
think of
seems
it
like
like
we
that, it's
Yeah,
not
I was
bad.
gonna say, it seems like we got him on really quite a deal.
Well, yeah, because I think because he had an elbow injury last year and had a quote unquote like down year
Yeah,
where if you watch the tape, he was still super effective. Getting to the quarterback. He gets double teamed the most in the NFL. But
yeah.
he didn't have the sack numbers, and the Giants as a whole were just bad. And he dealt with an elbow injury the whole year. So I think we kind of got him at a discount. And with him being 28, you know, we'll have him till he's I think at 31.
I
So
think 31, yeah.
31 or 32.
Yeah,
So
something in
then
that range.
I think age also kind of played into
We
that, but
should we should see him, like, through his prime, though, right? I
yeah,
mean,
for
because
sure.
because he should be, barring injury, he should be in his prime years of football for the next 2, 3 years. I mean,
Yeah.
because I don't know, I mean, from I feel like from the defensive tackle standpoint, like, you know, the prime years can be maybe a little bit longer than other positions, like maybe, 25 to 30 or 26 to 30, something. Point being, he should have a couple more really good years left in the tank.
Yeah, I mean, take Chris Jones, for example, who I think, they're kind of close to the same type of player, tier player.
Mhm.
His age 28 season, he had 15 and a half sacks, age 29, 10 and a half,
Yeah.
35, and then 20, and then this last year, 2025, at 31, had seven. So,
Yeah.
I'll take that. I mean, I don't think Dexter Lawrence is going to have 15 and a half sacks this year, but,
No, but I'm happy
um,
with half that.
yeah, like
In the
if he gets in
pressures.
like the 8 to 10 or 8 to 12, like yeah, heck yeah, we'll take that. So yeah, I don't
In the
see
one-stopping ability,
yeah,
that's gonna be huge too.
and another thing is like how much is that he's going to help the other 10 guys on that defense, because
Oh,
he's going to
yeah.
be eating up double teams, which will open up Bowen Mafe, Shamar Stewart on the edge,
Yeah.
open blitzing linebackers. He's
And
just going to
Shamar
help, and
Stewart
if he
isn't
can
horrible.
yeah, if he actually, progresses. Um, and I mean, if you watch the tape last year, he disrupted the quarterback a lot, which helps the DBs.
Yeah.
So he's a game wrecker, and it's something that, I mean, they had with Trey Hendrickson, but if we're being honest, like Trey Hendrickson had games where he was that, and games where you were like, he didn't do
Where the heck
anything,
is this guy?
yeah, so
Yeah.
and I think Dexter Lawrence, can be hopefully more consistent, but,
Yeah.
something that, I think can really help all 10 guys on the defense, not just, his own stats. So
Oh,
I
yeah.
think he's gonna be a huge piece.
I would agree. I'm happy to see him in a Bengals uniform, that's for sure.
So am
We're
I.
uh
Now we
we're excited to have him.
Yes, now we get to do the sexy Dexy and the gritty. So
Yes,
we'll
that
be
is true.
lot of dancing in Cincinnati. Also
Oh
Clemson
yeah.
Tiger. I think we have like 4 or 5 Clemson players. Miles Murphy, Barrett
Which
Carter,
uh
T, and now Dexter Lawrence.
which I don't really know how I feel about that because
Yeah.
Clemson hasn't really been very good recently.
Yeah, they really Dexter Lawrence and T are the 2 good ones.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, because yeah.
but that's just they're Tigers for life.
They are. They are. And we're happy that he is
We
continuing
are
on
happy he
the
is a Bengal.
Tiger. Yeah, yeah.
All right, shall we do a mock draft
We shall.
now that we don't have our first round pick anymore? Because we didn't do one before when we had the 10th overall pick. So
That's
I guess
true.
I guess we saved our time you know, talking
Yeah,
about
we
that
did.
because that would have just been useless, I guess.
Yeah.
Um,
And we would have been talking for 15, 20 minutes about how we're going to take the wrong guy inevitably. So, we just saved ourselves some breath.
yeah. All right, let me load this bad boy up. All right, so we got C.J. Allen, D'Angelo Pons, Anthony Hill Jr., Jacob Rodriguez as linebacker, Jay Golday's there. Some
I feel like
edges as well.
I feel like the obvious pick in this situation is CJ Allen, right?
Yeah, I would agree. I can almost guarantee you he won't be here. I think he's probably a first round pick, but
So if he's not there though, then we're looking at
one of these 3 would be my picks: Hill, Rodriguez, or Golday.
yeah. Do you think Golday is do you think he's, early second round talent?
Yeah, I think right around this pick is where Rodriguez, Hill, and Golday's range kind of start. So, um,
Yeah.
I think they would. Uh, I would feel comfortable with any of them. As it says here, 6'4", 240, elite range from sideline to sideline, ranked
Uh-huh.
4th among Big 12 linebackers in run defense, which we need.
Yeah, that would be nice.
It's got good length, good mental speed, good tackling,
What do you think about the guy
trending
from
towards it.
Texas?
Anthony Hill, I like him. I think some people are kind of down on him, but he gives
He's not as
you
big.
know yeah, but when Al Golden talked during the combine, he said he wanted to get a linebacker who could kind of play the edge
Yeah.
and rush the passer.
Mm-hmm.
And if you look, 31 and a half TFL, 17 sacks, 8 forced fumbles in 3 seasons.
That's not bad.
That speaks to me that he's a guy who, can be good as a blitzer, be good off the edge.
Yeah.
Let's see what he ran. Yeah, he ran a 4.51, 37 vert. So, he has the athleticism to be able to do that. 981 a RAS score.
I'd probably
Um,
go this route then.
yeah, I like him a lot. I think he can really fit a lot of the things that they need,
Yeah.
from an attacking, kind of defensive, kind of, 3-4 defensive end type guy,
Yeah.
which would allow Demetrius Knight and Barrett Carter to play more, traditional linebacker roles because Demetrius Knight had to line up on the D line a few times, and he wasn't very good at it. And
Yeah.
so Al Golden said he wants to, transition him to more, a normal linebacker role. But yeah, I mean, he had only 3.5 sacks this year, but 2024, 17 TFL, 7.5 sacks, 113
Yeah.
tackles. Like if you can get something close to that production, you feel pretty good. And he's only 21, so he's still pretty young.
Mhm. And hey,
5-star
listen,
recruit.
those stats are still better than what our first round pick last year had. So
That's true. So
I mean,
is
in
that
this situation, obviously CJ Allen, but like you said, he'll be first rounder. So
yeah. I think
I
Jacob
mean,
Rodriguez also could be in play. He's more of like your traditional linebacker, but he won the Butkus Award. Um, 10, 10 TFLs. He had 6 interceptions, 6 sacks, and I think he had like a million forced fumbles. Yeah, 13 forced fumbles across
okay.
55 games in his career. 6'1", 235. He's a little undersized, but he
Yeah.
ran fairly well. The biggest thing with him was his athleticism. But as you can see here, 9.6 RAS, 95th percentile in vert and 40. So I think he's also good. He probably would be one who could come in immediately and probably make a good impact just because of his age and um his pedigree, I guess, as a linebacker this past
Yeah.
year. Um, but he it really is just what type of linebacker they want. If they want a more traditional linebacker, or if they want a linebacker that can get to the passer, get
Yeah.
to the quarterback, then that's where you kind of go more towards Anthony Hill. But Jacob Rodriguez, I think, probably could be the one that could start and produce immediately. So it's kind of whichever one you want.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I mean, we need guys that are going to come in and immediately start.
Yeah.
So if that's the case, then I think you got to go this guy. But I'd probably rather have a guy who can rush the edge. Um, I just I think it ultimately you got to come down to production. I mean, who's produced the most in statistical categories that are going to matter for our particular defensive scheme? I mean, because I I don't want to take another guy just because he has really good athletic numbers. That doesn't mean anything on the football field. So
Yeah.
I think you just take the guy who has proven that he is going to be efficient and get it done at the position that we need him to. Um, the fastest, obviously. So if that's this guy, then I think you go this guy. But I don't know. What do you think?
If we're going off of that, probably Rodriguez. I think he would slide into where kind of Barrett Carter is, more kind of
Yeah.
like a ball hawking, more pass, more pass oriented linebacker.
Hmm.
So yeah, he started his career at quarterback, so he's got
Oh
that.
wow. Okay. Interesting.
So I would be okay with either of them.
Yeah.
So
I
do we want to go
I say you take your pick.
Rodriguez?
I say we do it. Yeah.
All right, let's go Rodriguez.
But
All
like
right.
obviously in that situation, CJ Hill would have been the guy, but that situation's not going to
Yes,
happen.
but I
So.
I can yeah, I feel pretty confident that he will not be there at 41. If he is,
Yeah.
then you run the card in,
Yeah.
obviously. All right. At 72, some potential guys. Dominic Orange is denied Dennis Sutton if you want an edge, Romello Height.
I think you look at edge or
Um,
corner here. I don't know what
let's
type
see
of
if there's
corners we
option.
got here, but
Igbinosin,
mm,
um, Kamari Ramsey, I think, is like kind of a corner. He's listed at safety, but I think he, I think he kind of plays corner a little bit. Let me just look it up.
maybe edge is the way to go here. It looks like there's better edges on the board,
Yeah,
which is fine. I mean, we need that too, so I won't ever complain about taking defensive linemen. You know my thoughts on offensive and defensive linemen. I don't care how many of them you take.
yeah. Let me just look at Kamari Ramsey real quick. Okay, so he played not that much corner, but Uh,
I mean, I don't feel that we really need a safety,
yeah,
so I'd probably steer off of him. Um, I think
let me
I
look at
think if
some of
it's
these
me in this
corners.
situation, I'm probably looking at one of the two edges that are there. Um,
Yeah, I'd probably
yeah,
look at. I mean, Dennis Sutton. I think he's kind of your guy where he
six
has.
five, 272.
Yeah, he
Yeah,
has. He's more of a traits guy than a production guy.
yeah, which I
I
don't
mean,
love.
he had good production. I mean, this last 2 years, 8.5 sacks, 13 TFLs, 7.5 sacks, 12 TFLs.
That's
But I
good.
think
That's not bad.
some people kind of wanted maybe more. But but yeah, I mean, he's a guy. Yeah, 6'5", 272. He's huge, obviously. Long arms. Uh, and
I
I
don't know.
think
What do
the
you think?
Bengals had a little bit of interest in him, maybe like during the combine. Um,
Do you think that that this third round pick would be a position where we could afford to draft a guy who has, freak athlete, has the potential, but the stats aren't quite as great? Now, keep in
well,
mind that guy has better stats than freaking Shamar Stewart had in college. So, I mean,
yes.
I don't
Well, I
think that
think
guy's statistical output was bad.
yeah, I feel like I would feel the most comfortable in that idea of thinking with edge, just because we have three guys who will more than likely be playing, and you feel at least okay about, to where a guy that you feel better taking a guy that could pop, um
Yeah,
rather than that at linebacker where you kind of need the guy to pop. uh
yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I would be down with Dennis Sutton, or there's yeah, that guy sucked.
So maybe you go this route. I mean, like I said, I don't think it's a bad thing to stack up on defensive linemen. You can't ever
Do
have too
we
many.
know what scheme does Golden run? Does he run a 3-4 or 4-3? I can't
I'm
remember. Do
not
you know?
sure, honestly. I don't know. It's probably some sort of. If I had to guess, it's probably some sort of like hybrid 3-4.
Yeah,
But I'm sure he also runs even fronts too. So I'm not really sure what the
yeah,
base is.
yeah. Because I mean, if you look at the corners, like Igbinosin, I think is good and much improved from last year, but he had a lot of penalties.
Hmm.
Um, I've seen Julian Neal been up here a little bit, 6'2", 200. Um, he ran pretty well.
Yeah. I feel like
A thing
decently
here,
confident in our corners. I mean, I guess
yeah.
we can
Well,
always use depth.
the problem with the corner is Turner and Hill are both free agents next year, and
Yeah.
I'm gonna bet that they're not gonna re-sign Dax Hill unless
Yeah.
he just gives them a reason, like, and they just balls out and they have to. So that's the thought process at why they would draft corner up here. Um,
Yeah.
but I feel like, yeah, the corners really didn't fall as much as I would probably hope.
Uh-huh.
So I'm okay with going edge and going Sutton,
Let's do it.
a guy who has a lot of potential, who has the athletic traits, who, if Pop could be an elite pass rusher, I
Yeah.
think at what 72, you feel fine picking that.
Yeah. I would say so. I mean, I think maybe maybe here you look to go offensive line or corner. I think it depends what the corners look like right now. But I'd probably also I would probably still keep an eye out for interior offensive linemen at
Hmm.
some point in this draft. Maybe
I
not
agree.
your first two picks. Um, but I think that that's something that you definitely want to keep an eye out for as well, because our interior offensive line is still not super great.
Yeah,
Um, so I'd probably keep an eye out for that, and then we could keep looking at corner too. Notre Dame guy, I like that.
yeah. Hit
It's a big,
MCL sprain
big guy.
2025. Only 19 career starts due to injuries.
That's probably not what
E-
you want then.
Excellent play strength, efficient angles on the climb, solid anchor, good power.
But he's
Um,
had a lot of injury history.
yeah.
Eh.
Let's look at this guy.
A
Six
Duke.
five 309. Quickness, burst, and agility for an offensive lineman. Accurate, tight, good hand placement, aggressive physical at the point of attack, skilled, efficient zone run blocker. Do we run a lot of zone stuff, right? With Chase Brown. So yeah, so zone runs right down that alley. All American. Um, yeah, I'm just I don't know much about this guy, so I'm reading up on him. 13 starts of 2024. Uh, who's the other guy? Boise State. Struggled at Senior Bowl, beaten by the guy we just drafted. Denied Dennis Sutton. 28 career starts at left tackle, so he can swing, which is nice. Yeah, he got destroyed when they played the Penn State in the CFP, which they all did. So that's not that bad. They all no, they all kind of got wrecked. Um, yeah, I would probably say either this Notre Dame guy, but he had injuries, so we'll probably scratch him. Probably one of these two, Parker or Zune. So Zune, I think, can also play offensive tackle, which is again good. Where is he? Here he is. Um, so Zune played 126 snaps at center this year and 650 at left tackle. Had a 97 pass block grade, 60 run grade, 88 true pass set block grade. So he could be like a Ted Karras replacement and also swing at the tackle. Yeah. He played PFF has him as a tackle, but I think he's small enough to probably just move into guard. He played yeah. PFF says he played right tackle and left tackle in college, but I'm sure he could probably move in. 84 run block grade, 83 pass block grade, 89 zone grade. Um, well, he's 6'5", 305. So he's kind of more of a guard size, I guess, is probably why they have him as a center or interior offensive guy. I like him. He sounds good. Yeah, I feel like with as much as bad as the offensive line's been in the past, taking guys who can play multiple positions is always helpful. And he can replace Cody Ford, so he sucks too. So I'm okay with him. Oh, bet. Yeah, let's do that then. All right, now I think we definitely need to get a corner because we've kind of punted corner. We're way down here. Yeah, the board didn't really fall, the way that you'd probably want it. So you have this Kennedy guy he's a slot guy, 5'10", 181. Um, 2 interceptions. Yeah. Oh shoot. We lost it. No. Frick. What happened? All right, we'll go quick. I'll see if I can draft the same guys. I don't know what happened. It just kicked me off. That was weird. All right. We drafted J Rod. And then Dennis Sutton. And then Parker, right? Okay, we're good. That's weird. I don't know. Maybe he is there. If he is there, then I'll be happy. There's this Iowa guy, 6'1", 189, 23 years old, elite run defensive grade, 10 pass breakups, third team All Big Ten, was at the Senior Bowl, physical coverage. Iowa's put out some good corners in the recent years. This Kennedy guy, he's more of a slot. It's his speed. 4.47. This guy, Damani Jackson, 6'1", 194. Talented press man cover corner, shows versatility and football IQ to flip between cover 2 and man. We like to run man a lot, don't we? I think Al Golden's a big man guy. Blazing straight line speed that measured at elite 4.28. Okay. At 6'1", 197 with 4.28, I'll take that. Played at Alabama, so battle tested against SEC. Sits out screens and tackles well. Yeah, he looks good to me. What were his stats? Yeah. He was a unanimous 5-star. I don't know. I could 23. You're probably right. Sounds good to me. Yeah. Yeah, big and fast. We like that. All right. So we've gone interior. We've gone linebacker, edge, interior O-line, and corner. So with our next 3 picks, I say we look at either like receiver or tight end. And not Caldwell, but there is a UC receiver who is good, Cyrus Allen. I don't know. Let's look. Called 163 to the Vikings. That's a good question. That was before. Yeah, he got picked right over there. So yeah, we wouldn't have a chance to get him. Yeah, no, I agree. I think he's really good. Let's look at some of these wide receivers. Let's look at that Cyrus Allen guy. 661 yards, 12 touchdowns. He's 23 years old, 5'11", 180. Let's see. Does it say his? We don't know anything about this guy. There's no stats. 6'4", 246. Elite inline blocker, exceptional pass protector. So he's more of a blocking tight end. It doesn't seem like he had a lot of receiving duties at Ole Miss, but he's a really good blocker. Tyron Montgomery was a big story out of John Carroll. He's old. He's like 24, almost 25. But he had a really good Senior Bowl. I think Tanner Koziel, I think is how you say his name. I think he's a really good receiving tight end, 23 career touchdowns, 6'7", 247. Mel Kiper's number five tight end, top three tight end in receiving yards in 2025. Good ball skills, all that stuff. So he would be more of your receiving tight end. And at 6'7", that's pretty good. I mean, he'd be like Darnell Washington, but can actually catch a football and not 300 pounds. I've drafted him a lot, kind of around this area. Rivers was highly touted. 5'10", 176, 4'3", 540. Yeah, good kick returner, fast. Don't have stats on him, but yeah, strong hands, sharp route breaks, quickness at the top of his routes, creates separation. Despite not being the biggest receiver, was consistently targeted for first downs over the middle and along the sideline during Shrine Bowl week. He quickly turned upfield on the game-winning drive, showcasing his burst and awareness that translate to yak production at the next level. So yeah, he'd be like a fast slot guy. I'm just trying to project if that tight end will fall. He could. He's right now. He's at 220, and we have 221. So do you want to go the receiver and see if the tight end falls? All right, we'll go Eric Rivers. No, he is there. Pretty easy with that. All right, so I think this is our last pick. Yeah, so we have a tight end, wide receiver, corner, interior offensive lineman, edge, and linebacker. So let's safety. I'm just looking at some like depth safeties. 6'2", 200, fifth-year senior, good range, 23. I'm seeing if I know any of these guys. I don't really. Probably because we're in the 7th round. 4'5'7", 6'3", 2. Yeah. Quintavious Hutchins. He is an edge. 6'5", 333. Limited athleticism for zone schemes, though. That's probably not what you want. Take another linebacker. Let's go with this Miami guy. He's old, but he seems decent. 5 interceptions, 75 tackles, 6 passes deflected. Miami had a good defense. Yeah. We'll take him. All right. So we B. So yeah, we got a B for everything except the tight end pick, but that's fine. B plus, B plus, B minus. Yeah, I'd feel happy with that. I think ideally, at 72, you probably want a corner to fall, but the way that the board kind of went, there wasn't one that I felt really confident about. And I still think the guy that we got, Jackson, I think would, I still think is really good. But yeah, I mean, if that does play out, how that second round looked, there was 4 linebackers that I think would be pretty pretty good guys. So I'd feel confident. If the board did in that way, uh, if CJ Allen does fall, which I don't think he will, but I'd be fine with any with Rodriguez or Golday or um, Anthony Hill. I'd be okay with any of those guys. So I feel like they're in a good spot with the linebacker because I think where their range starts is where they kind of all start going. So yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, now I think it gives them more time to really hone in on some of these second round guys and not have to worry about obviously the first round and stuff. So they can really kind of pick out some guys that they really like and hopefully, you know, make some good picks. Because yeah, I mean, if we came in with that draft, I'd feel pretty good about how the defense is looking. Um, but we're gonna have to wait till Friday for the Bengals to make a pick because Dexter Lawrence is a Cincinnati Bengal. The draft is 2 days away. We'll see if the Bengals screw it up or not. Hopefully they don't. Um, you never know. That would be hopefully yes. Um, but we will be live streaming the first round of the draft on the Lunch Table Takes channel. If you guys want to check that out, and I know the Bengals aren't picking, but we're just gonna kind of be hanging out. Um, we do it. We've done it for the last 2 or 3 years. It's been really fun. So if you're interested, tune into that. Um, and yeah, the Bengals been active. Hopefully they end the offseason with a bang with a good draft. And hopefully we're here on Friday potentially or Saturday um, talking about a successful Bengals draft and another positive video, which we don't do very often, but they are hard to come by. But today was definitely one of those. So again, thank you all for watching. If you enjoyed, make sure to like and subscribe if you did. And we will see you probably in a few days with some draft stuff. So see you guys later. Peace.